So I've got Denis Fernando here. He's from Stand Up for UKIP, and he's been an activist for years against racism, against bigotry, against the far right, the populist right generally, haven't you? I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. Got involved in campaigning against racism when I was quite young, and there have been some really significant victories in Britain, which has meant that you've been able to electorally not have the situation you have in Europe, where the far right and fascist groups are embedded and they can't be stopped. And I think that that's a really powerful example that we can say to people when people say, does voting make a difference? Does getting out there and being active make a difference? Actually, in Britain, we don't have people in government in ministerial positions able to put forward bigoted politics because people went out and made a difference.
What does UKIP represent to you? Why have they got the support they ended up getting?
I think that there's a climate of scapegoating migrants. I think in the middle of an economic crisis, we've seen a situation where instead of blaming those at the top who created the crisis, it's very important actually to distract people's attention and to say migrants, people who are claiming benefits, others, are responsible for the crisis or are responsible for the impact of the crisis. And it's really important to get out there and say, well, no, actually, if all of us work together, we can get through this crisis. But we're not able to get to that point because the media and mainstream politicians, I think, have a vested interest in making sure that that doesn't happen.
I mean, are you feeling optimistic about peeling off, particularly working class voters who've been, who've ended up with the politics of fear and that UKIP represent, actually winning some of them back? Do you think, are we making any inroads? Are we making any successes at the moment?
I think it's totally possible to do that. I think it's just a case of putting forward the correct arguments. The fact that migrant communities contribute hugely to the economy and are out there making a very big difference in this community. My own parents came here in the 1970s. There was a lot of racism against the Asian community back then. But when you look at the different ways in which actually Britain was able to do things like win the Olympics because it is a diverse society, and when we're able to get out there and get that example out there and those kind of things, I think you are able to win people over. I also think that people find like flagrant racism actually quite repulsive, so it's had to take these codified forms, and it's just a matter of saying those two things are the same thing.
Can we defeat Nigel Farage here, and what does it mean if we do? What will that mean for UKIP and for everything it stands for?
I think it's totally possible to do that. I think that you're already seeing, when you look at a year ago, the kind of bravado there was about like their electoral success in the elections, and the fact that it's coming down to such a close vote. I think that it's absolutely possible to do that. But what it requires is for people to say, I want something that is going to be progressive. I want an example of this person who's not going to go out there and blame communities that are on the edges of society. To stand up on a national debate and to blame HIV migrants and to round on HIV migrants. Well, if it's HIV migrants today, remember that it will be other communities tomorrow. So I think it's totally possible for people to do that. And if we are able to defeat Nigel Farage, I think it would be an absolute sea change moment, because it will say that it is possible against the funding of millions, the media profile that this man has had, and all the kind of profile that UKIP have been given. It was possible for ordinary people to get out there and make a very big difference.
Okay, we'll do this.